Greetings once again. Your history will not determine your destiny. So today, a quick word from the book of John, chapter 9, verse 1 till 34, where this story talks about a man who is born blind receives his immediate miracle. As Jesus came and did perform a miraculous thing, he gained sight. Now, oftentimes, when one person goes through suffering, back then during the time, the Jewish time, it's a common belief when a person suffers from illnesses or born blind, for instance, like this, people tend to question whether this is a sin of the child or a sin of the parents. But here's something eye capturing verse, it stood out for me, where Jesus told to his disciples when they questioned Jesus, why is this man born blind since when he was young? Was it a cause of his parents? Was it a sin of his parents, or was it the child's sin? Was it the man's sin as well? And Jesus told this to the disciple. It was not because of his sins or his parents' sins. This is what Jesus replied to the people. So this happened, he said, this happened in order to showcase the power of God, so that the power of God could be seen through this man. Today you may be facing all kinds of questions. You may have a child. While I was just preparing myself, it was a very short message. Just wanted to come and encourage someone here. When I was just preparing myself, God just impressed upon my heart, considering a mother or a father who's worried about a child condition. Maybe a child is battling with an autoimmune disease, could be an incurable disease, where you have been having so much of backlashes by people, by the community, maybe from your relatives, considering this child's condition. And you may be questioning yourself as a child grows up, what are the problems the child will be facing? And I know as parents you may be worried. But for this story, this man was born blind. Where he was young time, he was born blind. He was not he was still a small child. He had this illness, and that's what Jesus said. It is not the sin of the parents or neither the son, neither the child sinned to have that kind of suffering upon himself. Today you may be questioning yourself, probably I have committed something that my child had to suffer, or probably I've done something that's why I have to go through these illnesses. But the Lord is saying, when all failed in your life, when medical practitioners have failed, they have given you reports after report, the report was not good, it was negative. Whenever you visited a doctor, they only have to say this kind of thing, that your disease is incurable, and that has broken your heart. I know how it feels when doctor says that it's incurable, it's lifelong, it's like a life sentence. That is what we can see in this story, where this man was born blind. It could have been a life sentence thing. His dreams and his hopes had been dashed. He didn't have anyone, because when he was born blind, and he was a grown man that time when Jesus met him, he was sitting on the roadside, he was begging. His condition, his suffering had led him to the streets to beg. Probably today you may be going through some kind of illnesses where it has caged you and has conformed you to a place where you know that you don't deserve it. You didn't do anything to succumb to that kind of condition. But the Lord is saying today, just like how this blind man didn't know that his healing, his miracle was on his way. See, he was sitting on the ground. I know millions of people would have passed by, as being a beggar sitting on the roadside. He would have heard people spitting. You didn't know how Jesus healed him. This is where I'm going to speak about how Jesus healed him. Sometimes Jesus does the miracle very surprising. It's not the way as humans sees it. He performed this miracle by spitting on the ground. Jesus spat on the ground and he formed a mud, and he just rubbed the mud on this blind man's eyes. He didn't know, he didn't ask him anything. But Jesus, you see, when God has determined a time, he has a specific time, a set time to do a healing. He just comes supernaturally. Because there are times when our life, we'll be thinking, when God is going to step into our life. I remember certain areas in my life where I'm thinking, I'm going to be lifelong like this. When God comes, there's no indication that it's going to happen. But when God performs, He performs step by step, and He takes off. Whichever area we have been humiliated, this guy would have gone through humiliation after humiliation. His condition led him to the streets. He ended up being a beggar, despite his parents alive. He was driven as a beggar. He was in the roadside begging to live his life. People around him, there are other beggars around him, knows his condition as well. I believe, I don't know how many years he was begging, because he was born a blind guy. He was a born blind man. And when he was sitting there, he was begging, and so Jesus came and performed this miracle and told him, when he rubbed the mud on his eyes, he said, "Man, go and wash yourself at the pool called Siloam." Siloam means sent. Jesus was a sent person. He was a sent by God. He's a vessel sent by God to perform miracles, to set the captives free. And when he has performed this, he has rubbed the mud, and he told him to go to this pool called Siloam. Siloam means sent. In fact, this guy don't know. He just got up and he went. I don't know how he went. When he washed himself over there, immediately he was able to see for the very first time. This guy I believe he didn't know that it was his set time. He would have heard many people spitting. I believe when Jesus spat in front of him at the ground, he would have thought this would have been, I believe God would have worked inside of him, that this is his time of healing, because he didn't retaliate, he didn't question and tell, I can't come. One more guy was lame in the Bethesda pool. But this guy immediately went and did obediently what Jesus said, and he received his healing. Today you may be going through that. Today you may be going through something humiliating. You may be seeing your child or your loved ones suffering from an illness. And I know how it feels when you go through things that you feel that it's like life sentence. This man would have felt the same thing. It was like a life sentence. It was not his fault. He was born blind. But Jesus said this word. Just cling on to this word. Jesus said, this is neither the sins of his parents, neither the sins of this child. It's for the glory of God. Because sometimes God does things. He wants to perform his miracle. It wants people to watch. There's a quote today I posted on Facebook. God is allowing people to watch you survive your storm. And I didn't know, I didn't plan I would have gone share on this. But I believe God is speaking to me as well. Some areas that you have been humiliated the worst. Like for me was my weight. I was overweight for many years. I was not born slim or anything. I had some health condition that I'm waiting to release in the coming time. When God permits me, I will share it. So I have some illnesses, and it led to my overweight, and I couldn't lose weight, and that was been my place of obscure. I was very insecure. I didn't have hope that I can lose weight, but God performed that miracle. This is what I'm trying to encourage you. You don't know when God will come, but when God has predetermined a set time to heal you, He will come. He will showcase like never before. You don't need to give answers to people. Sometimes people will question you, this and that. That times you may lose faith. But today I came to awaken your faith that God still in the business of doing miracle. If you're going through certain things that that it should not be, it could be an illnesses, it could be you are going through this affliction long time, and it's thing where it's draining your faith, it's just stressing you out. And I know autoimmune diseases, it's been a trying time for some of y'all. Sometimes you're difficult to cope up with the weather change, and it's a struggle. Sometimes you have the flaky skins and so on. But the Lord can perform miracle when He steps in, when you surrender to Him. This man didn't know his time. It was his set time for miracle, but still Jesus performed the miracle because it will give glory to God. And in fact, this guy became a living testimony. He stood firm in his faith, even though the Pharisees came and questioned him and so on. Today, God wants to make you an unrecognizable instrument in His hand. Because when Jesus healed this man, when he came back, the beggars, those fellow people who were sitting beside him before he was while he was blind, they couldn't recognize him. It was not 5-10 years, it was immediately after when he came back from the pool. These people couldn't recognize him. Some people said maybe his look-alike appeared. Some said no, it can't be him, and so on. Even though this man kept on saying, it's me, it's me. God can change your status. He can change your appearance. He can change anything. Where you are humiliated, whichever area you've been humiliated, God can transform that. Certain things have been reserved so that God can showcase His miraculous power through you. You will be a walking light, a living testimony in that area. Because this guy, even though the Pharisees didn't believe, but he stood firm in his breakthrough. He stood firm because even his parents were so afraid of the Pharisees. When the Pharisees questioned because they performed this miracle, Jesus performed this miracle on a Sunday, on a Sabbath, which is against the law. But yet, Jesus' heart was all for setting the captives free. And he came. He was sent by God. God our Father, He was sent to redeem those who are oppressed, to set the captives free. And He didn't bother anyone. He was a light. Today we are the light into someone's life. We are the walking lights. There are times God have done for us certain miracles. We yet to testify. Today I was sharing about my weight loss journey. It may not look serious for anyone, but it was for me a serious thing because it took a toll on my health. And I know it was many years I was waiting. I didn't really pray about it, but I was worrying about it. But when God performed this miracle, I couldn't take my mind off it. Because in the place of my humiliation, that is where I'm being praised now. That is where people are talking about my weight loss journey. People were questioning certain things, and I kept saying it was nothing about losing weight using medicines or anything. I didn't do anything. It was a supernatural thing where God has led me through that process. And it was a process, but it was a very fast process, I would say. Today you may be contending for a miracle. Just want to assure you that when it's God's set time, when you know God has spoken to you, He will give you just maybe a baby skin, maybe you have flaky skin and so on, autoimmune disease. People will know that God can perform miracles. God can give you, He can restore back your joy. He restored this man's hope back. He restored his joy. This man may have lost many years, being born. He wouldn't have had a normal childhood. Today you may be going through some illnesses from young time. You didn't have a proper childhood. Maybe you are going through right now as a parent. You are watching your child suffering and you couldn't bear that. But as a parent, God will listen to your prayers. God knows your heart's desire for your child. God knows the destiny of the child. Your child will not go through that any longer. God can set him free or her free from the illnesses. Just believe and claim this word. And I know there are more miracles that's going to happen in these coming days. As we seek the Lord, He is going to perform it because this is going to bring glory to Him alone. You may be born in a default setting like this man. He was born in default. He didn't choose to become blind, but he was born in a default setting of his history. I don't know, maybe his relative had this kind of condition. But whatsoever thing that has happened, Jesus came and redeemed him from his destruction. Jesus came and set him free from the curses. Whatsoever people said, maybe it's curse and so on. But Jesus took it and said, no, this is for the glory of God. People may say that your child's condition was a product of a curse. People may say maybe it's your curse and this will have been troubling you. But today Jesus is saying this word to you. It's not about anything. Forget what people say. It's for my glory. I'm going to perform a miracle coming this time. When you believe, the miracle will come to your child or to you. So trust in the Lord. When His set time, He will perform miracles and you will be a walking testimony. So I just want to release this to you. Keep believing. The miracle is on the way. God bless you.